Hey guys, welcome to the last part of our climbing series. So far we have been climbing underneath the wall, transitioned up, and finally we're going to get ourselves up on the wall ready for the next movement.
For this lesson, you need a little more than usual. You need a kitchen counter or a wall. You'll need 2 large water bottles and your dining room table. Please make sure you're allowed to use all these things. If you live in an apartment, maybe you can check out your parking area. Please go with an adult to make sure that you can do all these things. Or if you live in a villa, maybe you've got some walls around.
Now over to Coach Barry for a warm-up.
Okay, so for the climbs, we need to warm up by a lot of hanging. Okay, so first you want to start off with warming up your shoulders or generally your arm because you're going to be using a lot of it while you're doing the climbs. So you can do some circles around with your shoulders first and other way around, and then up and down, and then front and back. Okay, now you can do some crossing arms and move them up and down, and move on to your elbows in some circles around, another way, and then switching to the other arm. Circles first, and other way around. And then start warming up your wrists. Move them around, then other way, and then move them right and left. And put your forearms together, move them front and back. And make sure you move your wrists in all directions. Shake them off. Circles or up and down, just shake them in all directions to warm up your wrists properly, okay? And then if you have a bar like this that you can use at home, that would be perfect. If you do not, you can still use the door itself, okay? So I'm gonna start off with some dead hang. You can just hang on the bar without using any parts of your body to help you. Just make sure your arms are loose all the way, and maybe do this for about 10 to 20 seconds. Don't push yourself too much to do so, okay? And then from that, you can shake your arms off, make sure they rest good, and then you can do the same thing but in the form of a cat hang. You're gonna put your hands on the bar, your feet on the door, okay? Same thing, just hang there 10 to 20 seconds. You can move your arms around sideways, you can push your legs in and out, and then go down, give it a quick shake, and then once you feel properly warmed up with your shoulders, with your arms, you can start doing a little bit of pull-ups. If you can go all the way up, that would be perfect. If you can't, that's fine. Try to go as high as you can, and then eventually with more practice, you can pull up all the way. So, cat hang, pull up, and down as many times as you can. And that will be a good warm-up for the climbs.
Okay, so rather than a specific warm-up today, we've devised a conditioning routine for you to do at home that's going to help towards your climbing. So even if you find some of the following techniques difficult, this is going to help you along that journey. Now this is going to stay the same over all 3 videos, so you can have the time to be consistent with this and build it into your routine. Even after these videos are over, this is a good set of exercises for you to be doing. So we're splitting up the exercises into 2 sets. We'll explain exactly how this works afterwards, but I want to run through the movements with you first. So the first movement is a dip. So this is going to be working on our arms and our triceps in particular. So we need the corner of your kitchen counters would be ideal. Place your hands below your shoulders and bend your arms as much as you can, as long as you can still lift back up. So don't go so far down that you can't get back up afterwards. The second exercise is a row. So we're going to do this laying underneath our table. Grab onto the edge with your hands and we're pulling, trying to get the middle of our chest to the edge of the table, okay? If you can't make it all the way, that's fine. You can also add a little bit of support with your feet to make the exercise a little bit easier. The next exercise is going to be for our core, because our core is so important for us in climbing. So we are going to be raising our legs up in front of us, laying on the floor. So we're trying to get the feet as high as you can and slowly bring them down and repeat. The last exercise of this set is going to be a max hang. So if you have something at home you can hang from, this could be your kitchen counter, if you're lucky enough to have a pull-up bar, or even if you have a very sturdy trim around your door, could be very good. We're just going to hold on for as long as we can, working on that grip strength. For our second set of exercises, we're going to need a water bottle. Now, don't go trying to get great big water bottle. For these exercises, even 2-litre water bottle could be too heavy. So try and pick one that best suits your strength. So the exercises we're going to need those for are front and side raises. So we hold the bottles with straight arms and we lift them straight out in front, back down, and then out to the side. This is a surprisingly difficult one, and it's all about stabilizing those shoulders. The next exercise we need the water bottle for is a bent over fly. Now it's called a fly because it looks like you're flapping your wings. So you bend your front half of your body over as close to 90 degrees as you can, hanging the water bottles down. We then try and pull the water bottles out to the side, really tensing your back and pulling your shoulder blades together. The final exercise we're going to do is a back raise. So we're working on our core muscles again, but this time on our back. So we're lying on our front and we're lifting our chest up off the floor. Now you can make this a little bit harder by lifting your arms up above your head, and you may also find that you need someone or something to pin your feet to the floor so you can really isolate the back muscles. So now we know our exercises, how do we put this all together? Now you need to scale this for you. Some people are going to be stronger and find this easier, and some people are going to find this more difficult. Now there are two ways we can do this. The first is the number of repetitions that we do. So for example, it's how many dips you do before you move on to the next exercise. Now, only you will know this, but try and aim for somewhere around 4 to 8 for most exercises. Now, the other way we can alter it is with the number of sets. Now, this is taking the groups of exercises that I've explained and repeating them after you've finished them all. I would suggest trying to do at least 3 to really get the benefit from this, but you can add more or less depending on how strong you're feeling.
So the first technique in this video is going to be the top out. Now, top out is when you go from this waist position we've already talked about to be able to get on top of the wall and probably away from the wall as well. So to begin with, we're going to start with the step vault top out. So this is called the step vault top out because it looks just like a step vault once you start getting up. So you start with your hands on the wall, in waist position. You then kick your leg out, backwards and a bit to the side, and we try and get our foot on top of the wall. Once it's on top, we can use the muscles in our hips and our arm to push ourselves up and then get our weight more over our leg to be able to then stand up and walk away.
So that's it, you've got on top of the wall. You can now do a full climb up from underneath the wall all the way to the top. But now it's time to see if we can do this a little bit faster and a little bit more efficient. Now these next couple of climbing moves are going to be much more difficult, and they're going to require us to have done this previous conditioning that we keep going on about. Also for this one, it really helps if you're competent with your cat pass. So go back and check out that video if you haven't done so already. So this one, we're here in our front support position, just like we were before. And we're going to use driving our heel backwards to create momentum, similar to the knee drive, to get us high enough up to basically do a cat pass onto the top. So here are the steps. You're going to start by kicking the heel backwards. See if this feels like it takes your weight away from the wall and off of the other foot. Start to build this up higher and higher, landing on the floor if you need to until it starts to feel comfortable. Then start to hook the heel backwards, bring the feet up and seeing how close you can get them to the edge of the wall. Probably by this point, you're going to see what's going to happen next. This is where the cat pass comes into it, and we're going to try and cat pass up onto the top. So hooking the heel, lifting the hips up nice and high, pulling forwards, trying to get the feet on the top. Now take it easy with this one. It can be very easy to give yourself a shin injury hitting the shin on the wall, so just be careful as you go.
This is going to be the last technique in this video, and it's going to be the cast up. So if you came to our academy, you've already probably got quite a lot of experience with the cast, as we did it last term. We also just made a video on cast, so if you haven't seen that yet, please go back and check that out first. You can see it in the pop-out banner up here somewhere. So it's really worth saying before we start this, is that this is quite a hard technique, so don't just do this straight away. Make sure you get the cast and everything right first. So moving on, we're going to be in our waist position. So we've already talked about this, and we've already talked about the heel drive. And a cast is essentially a double heel drive. So what we do is we lean forwards, and then we drive both our heels backwards in this hollow position. All we do then is, once we're high enough, we then bend our hips again forwards, so starting to bring our knees through, and then it's essentially just a cat pass on top. Now it sounds really simple, but it's much more difficult to do. Practice lots and lots on a low surface if you need to, and then take it higher.
Now onto the common faults of our top outs. So one of the most common faults we have, very similar to what we mentioned in the previous video, is the timing. If we rush these moves, if we don't get the timing quite right, it can make things a lot difficult. So make sure you're taking things step by step so everything ends up in the right place. Next is using your knee. Now, although we've said before you can get away with using the elbows when you strictly have to, the knee never has to be an option. Simply make sure that you're putting the feet on top, either around the outside of the arms if you need to, or using that cat pass technique to get on top. Speaking of the cat pass, a common mistake here is not being competent with the cat pass before you start trying to do some of these moves. If you're not comfortable with it, go back, make sure you've got it, and then you can do these more difficult versions.
Challenge section. Okay, so now onto the challenges. And we have 3 challenges for you, some of which we can't do because the stuff we've got, the chairs and stuff we've got, are a bit too small for us. But the first one is going to be climbing around a parent. So you get a parent in like a nice wide horse stance, and then you can start on one side and try and climb all the way around the back of them, back around the front to the original position. The second one is trying to climb around a table. Now, if you find this one too hard, because we found it quite difficult, you can always try to use the heel hook to climb down safely without dropping to the floor. And if you can do that, you can try and get back up. And then obviously once you put them both together, you might be able to climb the whole way around a table. And then the last one is climbing around a chair. So this one is really difficult for us because the chairs are quite small, but for you guys, you might be a bit smaller and it might be a bit more suited to you rather than a table. Please send us your clips because we want to see what you guys can do. Also, it's probably worth saying right now is that make sure that you get a parent to check whether these things are sturdy, whether you're allowed to use them, and yeah, just make sure you're safe because we don't want you to break your furniture or yourselves. So we've come to the end of our final video of the climbing series, but the journey doesn't stop here. We want you to continue afterwards using these videos as a good reference.
Exactly, so we need to make sure we're still staying consistent with that conditioning even though we finished this climbing series. The exercises that we've had on offer are fantastic, and if they're starting to get easy after a few weeks, add a few more reps, add a few more sets to scale it for you. You'll need to keep consistent with this if you want to go even further than what we've shown you here.
So keep us in the loop about your climbing journey. We'd still like to see it. We'd still like to have those comments coming in to let us know how you're doing.
So keep sharing with us on Instagram, even whenever you get the climb up. It might be next week, it could be next month. We would still love to see it. So get in touch at Parkour DXB or at Parkour DXB_kids.
Stay tuned for the next video.
Bye guys.